Hello everyone, my name is Jadrien Chung and I am Year 1 Medic student. My matrix number is BM25110075 and the topic I will be talking about today is the human brain. Human brain is an extraordinary organ among the organs in the human body. It is often described as the control center of the body. It controls and coordinates our movement, our thoughts, our emotions, and memories. The brain makes up one of the central nervous system. First of all, I will be talking about the brain anatomy. First is the cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part of the human brain. It divided in the brain into two halves, the left and right hemisphere. The two hemispheres are divided by a deep sulcus called interhemispheric fissure or medial longitudinal fissure. There are four lobes on the brain. First is the frontal lobes, which is the largest of the four main lobes in the brain. It is located the most anterior part of the brain. Second is the parietal lobes, which is located just behind the frontal lobes. The third one is temporal lobes, which is located at the side of the brain around the area of the ear, which is around here. The last one is occipital lobes. It is located at the posterior of the brain and it is separated from the parietal and temporal lobe by the plane of the parieto-occipital sulcus, which is visible on the medial surface of cerebrum in the hemisected brain. The second part of the brain is cerebellum. It is the second largest part of the human brain. It is separated from the pons and medulla oblongata by the fourth ventricle, and it is posterior to the brainstem. It is inferior to the occipital lobes of the cerebrum and it is separated from cerebrum by tentorium cerebelli. Cerebellum is divided into two lateral hemispheres. They are united by a narrow middle part which is called vermis. The next part of the brain is diencephalon. It is not visible externally because it located deep inside the human brain and is covered by a cerebral hemisphere. It is composed of thalamus and hypothalamus. Thalamus is located superiorly to the hypothalamus, then hypothalamus is located inferiorly to the thalamus. The last one is brainstem. It is located in front of the cerebellum and connect the brain to the spinal cord. It consists of midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. The midbrain is the first part of the brain since when an intact adult brain is examined. Pons is the largest part of the brainstem. It is located above the medulla oblongata. It is the middle portion of the brainstem, and the last part of the brainstem is the medulla oblongata. It is located at the lowest part of the brainstem. I will be talking about the physiology of the brain. In our brain, the cerebrum is in charge to take over our motor and sensory information, as well as the conscious and unconscious condition, memory, feeling, and of course our intelligence. Abstracting thinking and delivering a speech are generated by the left hemisphere of the brain. In contrast, the right hemisphere will have the duty to control spatial thinking. The left and the right hemisphere communicate through the corpus callosum, which is made up of nerve fiber. The cerebrum functions by receiving sensory information, processing and integrating it in specialized region called lobes, and generating appropriate voluntary response. Each lobes of the cerebrum has a specific role, and together they allow conscious awareness, movement, learning, and behavior. The visual association located at the occipital lobes, receiving sensory impulse from the primary visual area and the thalamus. It relates present and past visual experience and is essential for recognizing and evaluating what is seen. For example, the visual association area allows you to recognize an object such as spoon simply by looking at it. The prefrontal cortex or the frontal association area is an extensive area in the frontal lobes. This area has numerous connections with other areas of cerebral cortex, thalamus, hypothalamus, limbic system, and cerebellum. This area mainly involved in the markup of a personality, intellect, complex learning abilities, judgment, reasoning, and development of abstract ideas. The facial recognition area, correspondingly roughly to area in the inferior temporal lobes, receive nerve impulse from the visual association area. This area store information about face and allow us to recognize people by their face. The auditory association area, which is located inferior and posterior to the primary auditory area in temporal cortex, allow us to recognize particular sound such as speech, music, and noise. The cerebellum helps sequence and monitor motor activity and make corrective adjustment while activity are being executed, so that they will conform to the motor signal directed by the cerebromotor cortex and other part of the brain. It receives continuously update information about the desired sequence of muscle contraction from the brain motor control area, and it also receives continuous sensory information from the peripheral part of the body, which give the sequential change in the status of each part of the body. The thalamus is the major relay station for most sensory impulse that reach the primary sensory area of the cerebral cortex from the spinal cord and the brainstem. It contributes to motor function by transmitting information from cerebellum and basal nuclei to the primary motor area of the different area of cerebrum and plays a role in maintenance of consciousness. And hypothalamus control and integrate the activity of autonomic nervous system, which indirectly regulate contraction of smooth muscle and cardiac muscle and secretion of many glands. Axons extend from the hypothalamus and parasympathetic and sympathetic nuclei in the brainstem and spinal cord. Through the autonomic nervous system, the hypothalamus is the main regulator of visceral activities, including regulation of heart rate, movement of food through the gastrointestinal tract, and contraction of the urinary bladder. The midbrain is located between the hindbrain and forebrain, but it is part of the brainstem. It contains sensory and motor tract. Dorsal region of the midbrain are involved in sensory information, while ventral area control motor function and convey motor information from the cerebral cortex. The pons have two major structures, ventral region and dorsal region. The ventral region of the pons form a large synaptic relay station consisting of scattered gray center called the pontine nuclei. This complex circuitry plays a role coordinating and maximizing the efficiency of voluntary motor output throughout the body. The medulla white matter contains all sensory tract and motor tract that extend between spinal cord and the other part of the brain. Some of the white matter form bulge on the anterior aspect of the medulla oblongata. These protrusions, called pyramids, are formed by the large corticospinal tract that pass from the cerebrum to the spinal cord. The medulla also contains several nuclei. Some of these nuclei control vital body function. Example of the nuclei in the medulla that regulate the vital activities includes cardiovascular center and medullary rhythmicity area. Neurotransmitters are needed in our brain. I will be talking about the biochemistry of the brain. The brain requires nutrients to function actively. Neurons must communicate to maintain body stability. The communication occurs through neurotransmitter, and neurotransmitter synthesis depends on dietary precursor molecules. What are the steps in neurotransmitter synthesis? The first is enzymes are synthesized in the neuronal cell body. The second is enzymes are transported to the presynaptic terminal by a slow axonal transport. The third one is precursor molecules enter the nerve terminal via transporter proteins. The fourth is neurotransmitters are synthesized in the cytoplasm. The second last step is neurotransmitters are packaged into synaptic vesicle. Then the last step is some neurotransmitter completes final synthesis inside the vesicles. Now I will be talking about the pathology of the human brain, which is Alzheimer. Memory loss is a key symptom of the Alzheimer disease. Early in the disease, people may encounter trouble remembering recent event or conversation. Over time, the memory gets worsened and other symptoms will occur. For a patient who is having Alzheimer, their brain will show some structural abnormalities, including loss of neurons at the liberate acetylcholine, development of beta amyloid plaque, and neurofibrillary tangles. The exact cause of Alzheimer's disease are not fully understood, but at basic level, brain protein don't function as usual. This disrupts the works of the brain cell, also known as neurons, and trigger a series of events. The neurons become damaged and lose connection to each other, which cause them to die eventually. Scientists believe that for most people, Alzheimer's disease is caused by aging, genetic factor, lifestyle, and environmental factors that affect the brain over time. There is no exact treatment for the Alzheimer's disease because the damage to the brain cell is permanent and cannot be cured. However, studies have shown that staying engaged mentally and socially is linked to preserved thinking skill later in life and a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. This includes going to social events, reading, dancing, playing board games, creating arts, instruments, and other activities. Now I will be talking about the advanced technology used related to the human brain, which is MRI. MRI is a non-invasive way for a medical professional to examine your organ, tissue, and skeletal system. It produces high-resolution image of the inside of the body that help diagnose a variety of conditions. It is the most frequently used imaging test for the brain. A special type of MRI is the functional MRI of the brain, also known as fMRI. Functional MRI is a brain scan that maps brain activity by detecting the change in blood flow and oxygen level. The equipment has a hollow tube that is surrounded by a very large cylindrical magnet. The patient, who must remain still during the test, lies on special table that is slid into the tube. The patient will be asked to remove jewelry, eyeglasses, removable dental work, or other items that might interfere with the magnetic imaging. Magnetic resonance imaging works by releasing a strong magnetic field that stimulates the proton in the body. The MRI sensor detects the energy which released by the proton when proton realign with magnetic field. To obtain the MRI image, a patient is placed inside a large magnet and the patient must remain still. In order to get a clear image, the patient may be given contrast agent, which often containing the element gadolinium, intravenously before or during the MRI to speed up the realignment of the proton with magnetic field. The speed of proton realignment is directly proportional to the brightness of the image. The last part I will be talking about is a neurosurgeon in Malaysia, which is Dr. Asman Rafiq. He is an expert with 23 years of active practice and experience as a doctor and 13 years as neurosurgeon and spine surgeon. He graduated with a bachelor degree in medicine and surgery in 2002 as the pioneer batch from International Islamic University Malaysia. He started his career in medicine at Hospital Tengku Ampuan Rahmiah, Klang in 2002 and served in the Department of Surgery till 2007. He subsequently joined the Department of Neurosurgeon in Hospital Kuala Lumpur in 2007. He obtained his master degree in neurosurgery in 2013 from University Science Malaysia. He continued his service in Hospital Kuala Lumpur from 2013 until 2020 as a consultant neurosurgeon. That's all from me for my presentation. Thank you.